All right, bottom of the hour now here at the KFYR Plus News Desk. And today we welcome financial strategist Ron Glasgow of Glasgow Investment Solutions to discuss President Trump's anticipated executive order moving marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3. It's a shift poised to unlock research, create tax relief, and reshape the green rush. Cannabis stocks have surged on news of rescheduling. Do you see this as a short-term spike or a start of maybe a sustained rally?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, any stock that moves in the short term is typically pretty erratic. You really want to look at those long-term trajectories. So, when it comes to cannabis stock, I think the big question is going to be: are they poised to make that leap to the federal system?
Hmm.
Because the people that are going to take advantage of that, be able to take advantage of that in all the states. The ones that just kind of are smaller producers that do their own thing, they may not be that equipped, and you'll see those stock price come down in relation.
Okay. Ron, which cannabis sectors would it be cultivation, retail, biotech that stand to gain the most when President Trump reschedules marijuana?
Sure. I think the place that'll benefit the most is the dispensaries. It's only, the class three, it's still only for medical dispenses in the states that don't have it authorized already. But that's an area where you're really going to do it. And then the more people that take the marijuana, the more your supply chain has to be. It will work its way all the way back and up that supply chain. So for people that need the marijuana, and there's been a lot of
Mhm.
studies on PTSD and things of that nature. It's great for them. Some people have different beliefs, and we try to respect that as well.
Will the change open the door for institutional investors and traditional banks to enter the cannabis space?
Yeah, I think so. I think once it gets to that classification as a Schedule 3, then it's the pharmaceutical companies and everybody else can get involved. Whereas right now they really can't. I mean, if you're publicly traded, it's very difficult to do this because of the banking system. So a lot of these places only take debit cards, or I'm sorry, they only take cash. Or something of that nature. That's the reason it's difficult to be part of that federal banking system. So there's a lot of things that have to change. It's not just like Trump signed something and it changes overnight. You have to build that infrastructure out, and you can't forget the taboo that's always kind of existed with this as well.
Sure. Okay, Section 280E currently limits deductions for cannabis businesses. If this rescheduling removes that barrier, what kind of margin improvements could we expect?
Yeah, when it comes to cannabis, that's something is any deduction is going to help you if you can take it. I am not a tax professional. I focus on
Hmm.
sort of the investment side of the taxes. So something
Sure.
that detailed, I always recommend that you talk to your CPA.
Okay. Could this policy shift a trigger wave of mergers and acquisitions in this industry?
Yeah, I think so. I think once something gets the federal stamp of approval, like everything virtually in our government, you start to see those mergers. I can't think of an industry right now that's not consolidating. Take a look at my core business, which is investing. The S&P 500 has 500 stocks on it, but seven of them account for over a third of the entire stock market's value. So it shows the technology. The technology has done that very thing, and that's a relatively new technology. Same thing with the railroads. There's four of them now. There used to be 200 in the 1800s. So everything's gonna merge over time. This will certainly jumpstart that with the federal government's approval.
Okay. So with this rescheduling, marijuana remains federally illegal still, but how does that uncertainty affect long term investment strategies?
Yeah. Again, so what you have to do is, according to my research, lowering it to Schedule 3 means it can be prescribed by a doctor. So once that happens, it's going to be
Hmm.
more of sort of a pharmaceutical type sale than it is going to be, just a regular retail sale, because there are still safeguards against it. Just opening a dispensary, although we have those in some states, my state of Texas, we don't allow it. We don't even have. I don't even think we allow cannabis oil down here. So once the order signed, it's going to take a while to backfill all of the infrastructure and really see what is actually going to be allowed and who wants to pay to play that game. But I think you'll see the big guys jump in and take advantage of it, just like they do with any other pharmaceutical.
Ron, do you think cannabis is shaping up to be a legitimate asset class, or is it still too volatile for conservative portfolios?
I certainly I try to be very, very broadly diversified. I don't invest in it personally, and that really comes down to your risk tolerance. Some people
Hmm.
don't have Bitcoin. I have some of that I buy independently. So, what your risk tolerance is and how much you want to take, I would say is certainly at the riskier end of the sector. But depending on how much money you have, there's nothing wrong with carving off 3, 5% if you want to take that gamble. And I think that gamble got a whole lot safer today, just like Bitcoin got a whole lot safer when BlackRock came in and made ETFs to track it. So once you have the major players, whether that be huge institutions or the federal government, you kind of know it's here to stay, and it's just going to grow from there.
What financial indicators should investors watch for in the next 6 to 12 months to gauge the industry health?
Yeah. Well, first, once it's signed, I think the economic indicators aren't necessarily going to correspond with the cannabis. I'm from St. Louis originally. It's a Budweiser town, or at
Uh-huh.
least it used to be, before they sold to the Belgians.
Yeah,
And we always said, the times are good, people drink. Times are bad, people drink. It's kind of the same way with cannabis outside of the medical necessity for it. And we all know people get their medical cards sometimes that maybe don't have the most legitimate of needs. So you're going to see that demand certainly spike. But the people that want to play it legitimately, we just have to see how that's going to work out, which pharmaceutical companies are going to get involved and produce it legally under the federal guidelines. And the other thing with the Schedule 3 is, doctors can prescribe it, but it's not approved by the the USDA. So
hmm.
that's another wrinkle that has to be overcome. It's not just going to be a turnkey solution, unfortunately.
Okay, Mr. Glasgow, I'll get you out of here with this one. If cannabis companies suddenly gain tax relief and easier access to capital, where do you see the biggest financial upside? Would it be in stock performance, private investment, or long-term industry consolidation?
Yeah, I think in the shorter term, you're going to see the independents do very well, but I think that long-term consolidation will be it. Once it's going to be federally recognized as Schedule 3, you'll see the big guys come in and just start taking over the market. That said, one of the things that Mr. Trump did say this was for the research component. So that's
Yep.
really the unknown. When the doctors get involved, they do real studies on the benefits for PTSD, for anxiety, things of that nature. If those start coming back positive, then you're going to see it explode. However, those studies take years to do, and they'll have to redo them once it's legal because the requirements are very stringent on those.
Sure. Financial strategist Ron Glasgow of Glasgow Investment Solutions. Thank you for the insight today, sir. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you.